Well, what a weekend we had with the G20 meetings that were on Friday, Saturday. Um, it was quite contentious, and it didn't have to be. Pittsburgh is a beautiful town, right on the Allegheny River there, and it's probably one of the more American towns of our country, in the sense that it's an interior town. Pennsylvania being pretty much a very one of the 13 colonies. What I saw this weekend scared the living daylights out of me. The first thing I wanted to do was go and buy an extra gun. It literally scared me. What I saw was a shutdown of a major American city by the federal government for the interest of international bankers and financiers, central bankers. I saw the takeover of the police force, the local community police force, the city police force, by the federal government. Basically, this is the federal government jumping into the role of policemen, and that is totally unconstitutional. I've heard that the Secret Service was denying permits. So basically what they told people was, if they want to protest, they can get on a boat in the Allegheny River and protest. That's un-American. We heard from the police that the, quote, order of the chief of police, this is an unlawful assembly. There is no unlawful assembly in our country. We have the right to assemble in the Constitution, and our government is basically violating our constitutional rights. Now, I know that some of the people there are weird that were there to protest. They are anarchists. They're against capitalism, and they have a right to be so if they so choose. Now, what I heard there, what I've seen, and people from, I'm from back east. I live here in California now, but I have friends in Pennsylvania, and from what they told me, this was the police. The confrontation was caused by the police. They were the ones who immediately suited up and surrounded the protesters, did not allow them to march. They could have just given away on the street, just stood by and let them march, finish their march, and make their statement, get on the news and whatever. But basically they blocked their way, and this is, in my opinion, we're going to see more and more of this for where our government is basically considering all American citizens to be criminals. Basically, unlawful. What does that tell you? That you're breaking the law. That you're a criminal for wanting to protest. You're a criminal for wanting to assemble. You're a criminal for wanting to speak. These are real problems in our society, and I think what's happening. I remember the '60s. In the sense that I was very young. I was born in '68, but I remember, my dad telling me about, standing on the hills on the Delphi Road, looking down at the protesters at the University of Maryland and the tear gas, and at that time he was he was in the reserves. He was called up for the National Guard service duty, and he was told to fire on, if they moved, to fire on them, and he said no. And many of his other National Guardsmen said no. Those are our people. We don't fire on our own people. But today, I have to wonder, the way that the policemen acted, to me, seems to make me say that they have not read the Constitution. They do not believe that citizens have rights. They believe in themselves being the authority, and that they basically overlord over us. And this is a real problem. They need to basically be re-educated in what it means to be an American. What I see here is, I see our society basically breaking apart. I see, what we would call civilized and decent, becoming very fractured, tumultuous, uncivilized, and we're basically moving into camps in our country. And it's us versus them mentality that's being created by this. And the police have a lot to, they, our government officials, especially federal government, and the police, who are basically obeying these orders, are the ones who are, in many ways, I hate to say it, but they're the and I like policemen. I do. I have some friends that are policemen, but it's sad. They're the ones who are furthering this, and it needs to stop. If anything, they should be on their side protesting. They should be protesting the fact that they actually have to become a private security force in many ways for these international bankers and financiers and corporate power, power mongers, and these central bankers who are playing into their hands. This is really sad day in America now to see what's happened, and all I can say is that what's going to happen next is you're going to see not just these kind of skirmishes where it's the police beating on protesters, but you're going to start seeing the protesters beat back. And I hate to say it, but the next time it might be that there are pitchforks or something even worse. But you're going to see rioting beyond what you've ever seen before, the way it's looking, because the police are just ratcheting up the heat. They are turning up the fire on these protesters, and it's very sad, incredibly sad to see this happen. There used to be what was called civil discourse in this country, and that's gone. You don't see that anymore. Maybe sometimes in the letter writing, but even there's a lot of sniping that goes on in letter writing, and we are Americans. We are losing our country, right and left. We're losing it because we're becoming slaves to the government. We're becoming slaves to bankers. We are highly in debt. There is no real wealth in this country anymore. It's basically been frittered away by endless consumerism instead of production. And it's going to take a long time to turn the tide. And I think we're going to sink much, much deeper. The stock market is not the best gauge of what's happening in the real world. And I just hope that more and more people will view it that way, will see it that way, because we need to get back to the basics, get back to the golden rule, get back to thinking of our neighbors, becoming neighbors again, and pulling each other up by, pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, and also pulling our communities up by our bootstraps. It's going to take that kind of work ethic again to do it, and we're going to have to get back to those old-time values. Well, anyways, that was my rant for today. Tell me what you think. You can always post a comment. Thank you.